Really?
Okay. Well, that was impressive.
You ever heard of E.F. Hutton? Remember the E.F. Hutton commercials?
What?
E.F. Hutton. Whenever E.F. Hutton speaks.
Oh.
Okay, now wait a minute.
It's been a while.
Okay, hush.
My recollection doesn't recall like it used to. Yeah, I do remember that. Come on in, guys. Okay, well, this is Memorial Day weekend, so I just wanted to recognize any veterans in here. Are there any veterans in here? No? Bob? What branch, Bob?
Korean Army.
Army in Korea. Well, thank you for your service. All right, this is week 7. I think I changed that on your handout just so I didn't cause any confusion this week. Seems like there was something I was going to say before I get started. I guess I did that already. Anybody got a guess on what we're talking about? We kind of hit on it a little bit last week. Some, who said that? It is. It's Buddhism. Comparative religion or world religion. It's not just world religions, what goes on in these religions. It's about what we think as Christians in comparison to what these other faiths think and what we do with that. So again, I want to point back to not getting all caught up in the nuances of these faiths, but just look at the overall picture and compare that to what we think, what their faiths are as far as salvation and sin and works and things like that in comparison to our own faith. So this week, that's supposed to be, I didn't change that for the sake of that. I have to go back and change it, the course material, but it is week 7. We left one out because we went from a 12-week to an 11-week course. The big idea, Jesus is the only way into salvation. Now, when we get into this lesson, look at it. Do they even think about salvation? And if so, how's their method or means to get that salvation? Emily, could you read that? And there's a few more lines here too afterwards.
Unlike Hindu religion, Buddhism can point to an individual founder and look back to a date for its beginnings. The man who formulated Buddhism was Siddhartha Gautama, who was born a Hindu about 560 BC at Lumbini near the border of India and what is now Nepal. Tradition says that when Gautama was born, a seer prophesied that he would become the greatest ruler in human history. The seer added that if Gautama ever saw 4 things, sickness, old age, death, and a monk who had renounced the world, the boy would give up his earthly rule and discover a way of salvation for all mankind.
A little more.
To refute the prophecy, Gautama's father built a palace for his son, giving orders that neither the sick, the old, a dead body, or a monk be allowed near the palace. Gautama grew up in his way, protected from the world. He later married a beautiful girl named Yasodhara, who bore him a son. But the gods had other plans for Gautama. One day, as he rode through the park that surrounded his palace, he saw a man who was covered with terrible sores, a man who tottered with age, a corpse being carried to its grave, and a begging monk who appeared to be peaceful and happy. That night, night, as Gautama reported later, he began to think about the look of peace on the face of the monk. He began to wonder if there was more to that than the luxuries of his palace. Late that night, he took a last look at his sleeping wife and child and then left the palace forever. Gautama, 29 years old, was determined to solve the riddle of life. He shaved his head, put on a yellow robe, and wandered the countryside as a beggar monk. First, he studied the Upanishads with the finest teachers, but he could find no satisfaction in these writings. Then he tried to find salvation through self-denial. He starved himself until he was a walking skeleton, but this brought him no happiness either.
Okay, thank you,
So he
Emily.
left his wife and kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he thought there was something bigger and better out there.
Now, three things. He was born in India. That's where Buddhism gets its origins from. He was born a Hindu. He was born a prince. And his father didn't want him to run off. A seer told him that if he ever saw these things, illness, a happy monk, death, and there was a fourth one anyhow. His father tried to keep him sterilized, keep him in the palace so he wouldn't ever see any of those things. But yet, every once in a while, he had to get out into society, so his father would sort of like sterilize the town so everything looked peaceful and perfect, that he would never see any of those things. Because if he saw any of those things, he was going to leave that priesthood, that royal family, and become the leader of the nation or leader of a new faith. But he did. He saw those things anyhow, saw all four of those things. And so therefore, he got to thinking about that peaceful look on that monk's face. And there were monks in Hinduism too. He got to thinking about that and, well, what makes this guy so happy? So it caused him to dig a little bit deeper. So from that point on, yes, he left his family. The reason I'm showing all of this morning is because they do have a history. They have a start, somebody that started the faith. We don't see that in Hinduism. And as also Emily read there, that he read the Upanishads, which was one of the Hindu holy scriptures, under a very smart monk. So he was getting educated, but he wasn't getting the answers that he was seeking. So he set out, left his wife, and he was frustrated at that point because he thought there was something more there.
So it's a break off of Hinduism?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll see it is a break-off, and there's some parallels, but there's a lot of differences too. Frustrated, he sat under a tree for 40 days, and I've seen different variations. It could be from a few days to as much as a few years that he sat there and seeking this enlightenment. Till he had found what he was looking for. Mara, which apparently is their word for the devil, the evil one tried to make him give up his quest. We see something similar to that in our own faith. Satan was coming in, the evil one, Mara, trying to change his mind, get him off of his course. At the end of 40 days, he reached nirvana. Anybody remember what nirvana was?
Nirvana was like this. It's like enlightenment but peace at the same time, isn't it?
That's about as good. It's hard to explain that. It's that final state that you want to get to when you have that, you know you've arrived, so to speak. So anyhow, at the end of that, and again, that's the highest level of God consciousness and the end of desire and therefore suffering. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. This Gautama, by this point, he's Gautama Buddha. Buddha meaning the enlightened one. He founded the first order of Buddhist monks, which is called Sangha. And some of the things, because this started with Hinduism, as Deb pointed out, some of the things that were different about Buddhism, which he started, Gautama, he denied the Hindu holy scriptures. He knew that he wasn't getting the answers from there, so he knew that there wasn't any answers there in the Hindu scriptures. They were not divine and were no help in finding nirvana, which was his own personal experience. He denied that the Hindu belief that man has an atma, that's a soul or a spirit. You can think of that in both senses. There's a little bit of a separation there between Buddhism and Hinduism. Buddhism doesn't believe that you have a soul, but you do have a spirit, though. Denied the Hindu priesthood and sacrificial system, so there again, he's pushing that organized religion that they had. He's pushing away from that. Denied the caste system. Anybody remember what the caste system is?
It's like the social classes.
Social classes, very good way of putting it. There was basically 4 of them in the Hindu system. Yes, Hindu system. He denied that. He believed that everybody could get on that road to enlightenment, no matter at what point you were born in life. And that included, one of those caste systems was, one of those main religions in Hinduism, if you were a woman, you couldn't even participate in the religious rites. Under Gautama here in his beliefs in Buddhism, women could participate just like anybody else. He did believe in reincarnation, as they still do, but not in the sense, it's more of a rebirth instead of your soul just continues from person to person or inanimate object to inanimate object. You basically start all over again, rebirth. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about main fundamentals and ideas that Buddhists have. Suffering is universal. Buddha taught that, and by the way, he's called Gautama Buddha at this point. He got to that point in Nirvana. He had been enlightened, so therefore he's a Buddha. We'll see. There has been many other Buddhas since then. If you look at, you see a lot of those little statues, typically a little fat guy
Yeah,
in the lotus
there's
position.
one that has one.
Yeah. There's a lot of those I found out, and they're in different positions, and they all mean something different, based on, one of them might be appealing to the gods of fertility, and another one based on the way they've got their hands and the way they're sitting, so they mean any number of things. So their main belief is suffering is universal. Buddha taught that every act of living involves suffering from birth till death. Even when you die, your physical body, that you're still going to have suffering. If you haven't reached nirvana, you're going to continue to suffer. It's part of life. But there are, according to their beliefs, there's ways to get away from that. The cause of suffering is craving, self-desire, things that you want. If you can get rid of that craving, people remain in the endless cycle because they are too attached to health. Well, who isn't? You want to stay healthy. Wealth, we know the problems with wealth, status and physical comfort. So it's just because you want something, you want comfort, you want something better to eat than you got, you want more money, you want better friends. All of those things cause suffering. So you have to get rid of that. 4 main principles of Buddhism. By the way, Gautama Buddha, he started what was called the middle way. We'll talk about the other 2 ways here in a moment. The cure for suffering is to overcome ignorance and eliminate craving. There again, if you want to get rid of that suffering, you have to get rid of the craving, and to get rid of the craving, you have to be more knowledgeable. You have to spend more time in meditation, the way that you think. There isn't a whole lot of scriptures in Buddhism. It's mostly about a connection through meditation. But anyhow, you have to strive to get to that point where you're more educated. When you become more educated, your craving, yourself, that you want more is going to get less, and therefore you're going to have less suffering. Suppress craving by following the middle way, the Eightfold Plan. And these things, the 4 main principles and the Eightfold Plan are very important to Buddhism. Anybody have a vision of what a Buddhist monk looks like? Shaved head, orange clothing a lot of times, robe.
It's a burgundy.
Well, it depends on which sect you come from.
Well, my son's living on a Buddhist monastery, and every picture I see, they have like a burgundy outfit.
One thing I guess I can point out right now is that they have, within all of these different main religions within Buddhism, there are lots of different cults. sects, I guess you would call them, within each one of them. There are many, many, many of them. And they all started from Gautama Buddha. But suppressed craving by following the middle way, the Eightfold Plan, and that's an escape plan to get out of the continual death and rebirth caused by craving. So when you get to that point where you no longer want things, you've reached that point of enlightenment. And I can't imagine how difficult that would be to get to that point, where you don't even think about those things anymore. The Eightfold Plan of righteous living. Now think about these things in a minute, because I got a question at the end of them. The right viewpoint. You have to undertake, if somebody's going to become a monk today, he has to believe each one of these things that we see here. He has to have the right viewpoint, which means that he has to accept that there is an Eightfold Plan, each one of these things, and that there are four basic fundamentals. The one thing, that suffering is continuous. The right aspiration, which would for one thing remain, or a couple things, renounce pleasure of your senses, and you have to harbor no ill will towards anybody, and you can't kill any living creature. The right speech. Do not lie. No slander. Can't talk about anybody. And even idle talk. Just sitting around chewing the fat, as we say. You can't do that either. Your speech has to be for a greater purpose.
Did you say you can't kill any living?
Any living thing. You're going to hit on that again. The right behavior. Do not destroy any living creature. Back to that one again. Things that you can't do. Take only things that are given to you. Therefore, you can't steal. If somebody gives you something, you can take that. But you can't just take it on your own, whether you think he's going to give it to you or not. The right occupation. Earn a living in a way that harms no one. And I guess that would mean all living creatures too. Now, I'm not trying to be funny here, maybe I am, because I have to think about people anywhere can see these classes. We're on YouTube, so I don't want to step on anybody's faith, but I'm thinking, if you can't harm any living creature, and you can't take a job that harms anyone or anything, are there any Buddhist exterminators? Because your job is to kill snakes and rats and bugs and all of that stuff, so that's just your totally useless bit of information for today. Right effort. Strive to adopt good qualities. And that means, always being mindful, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Just thinking about, not just thinking about meditating, but striving to get to those good qualities. Throw the bad qualities out of your life and working to strengthen those good qualities. The right mindfulness. Be alert, mindful, free of desire, sorrow, and even excessive joy. You can't be overjoyful either. And of course, meditation, to think about all of these things that we just talked about. Now, look at those aspirations up there, or all of that list up there. The righteous living. As a Christian,
Okay. We're supposed to do all that also, right?
yeah, that's my point, righteous living is righteous living. I mean, it behooves us to be more like God, to strive to do all of those things, meditating in God's Word, thinking about God's things. I think probably the one that we've had the biggest trouble with up there may be the speech one, not slandering and not idle talk and rumors and things like that.
Chuck, we have met up with Buddhists in prison before,
Mm-hmm.
and You know, I was just thinking of all this, and you're talking about comparing this to Christian life, you know, we should have that all the time. We watch these guys get out of their car, and they have their shorts and their tank tops and everything on, they're just yakking and talking, we had no clue who they were. And so we were just watching, you know, just casually observing, because we're sitting there for some reason. And then they go to their trunk, and I think they were yellow robes, I don't remember exactly. But, I mean, and they're just lively and they donned those robes, and it was like they put their persona on, and then have their hands like this, and walk in and stuff, it was like totally different, so.
It's sort of like, some Christians that you see 6 days of the week when they step into church. They
Oh,
put
Sunday morning.
They put on a different persona, and just like Christians, you're supposed to live that 24/7, so are the Buddhists, they're supposed to live that Eightfold Plan all the time. But there again, that color robe, that, I think the original robe, if I'm not mistaken, was orange, but because
It could have been, but in my
well, I'm
mind,
not
I'm
saying,
thinking,
because I
yeah.
know there are
Yeah.
a bunch of different colors out there now. So we got all of it. Thanks for reminding me. The 3 major branches of the Buddhism, Hinayana, and that was originally called, and this started in India, by the way, which was about the time that Gautama Buddha was there, when this new religion sprung up in India along with Hinduism. It was called the Lesser Way. Now that presented a problem. You know, that only a few that doctrine of the Lesser Way, only a few fortunate lifelong monks could find nirvana by following Buddha. So you had to be a lifelong monk. That was your only real hope. And like I said, they did believe in rebirth. So if you weren't a monk in this life, we'll get to that in a second. This was later changed to Theravada. That's what it's called today, Way of the Elders, because the previous name had a negative connotation, the Lesser Way. So they changed it to the Way of the Elders because they didn't like that, the Lesser Way business. Again, this was mostly, was in India at one time, but it's been pretty much overtaken. Hinduism has pretty much overtaken it. So there isn't a big Buddhism presence in India today. Mostly this major branch here is in Thailand, Laos, Sri Lanka, and some other countries. We had a missionary here a while back in Thailand, and we were talking about, I asked him, do they believe in karma? Yes, they believe in karma, and they believe in reincarnation. It's a little bit different, the Buddhists over there. Okay. And again, the best you could hope for, that you came back as a monk in the next life. So there again, that rebirth, I call it reincarnation. You come back as another birth, and that you would be a monk in this next life, and you could strive to, and this again is the Hinayana faith, which is still out there in those countries that I mentioned. The next one is Mahayana, doctrine of the greater way. Buddha originally taught that only you could save yourself. It was a work-based, and you had to get to that point where you accepted all of those, that Eightfold Plan, and that there were 4 basic, and you would get to nirvana, that point that you needed to be to, but only you could do that. This branch teaches that there are Savior gods today. This branch teaches there are Savior gods called Bodhisattvas.
Bodhisattvas.
What is it?
Bodhisattva.
Okay. And those are people that can help you through that process. And basically, those are people that have reached that point of understanding. They've already reached that point of understanding, but they choose to stay and help other people through that process too. Which they get that belief by looking back at Gautama originally, that he reached nirvana, and yet he chose to stay on earth to help other people understand and be able to work their way through that process. So now they believe that Savior gods, those people that have reached nirvana, can help you get to that point too, that you don't have to do it by yourself. Buddha was the first and supreme whatever that word was. He was the first one, he's the one that reached nirvana. And there, as I said, have been many others since then. Tantrism. And just to step back on that last one a little bit, today, today that faith is mostly in, probably the biggest of the faith, because we see it in most countries and the biggest countries. Anybody care to make a guess on where we see that Mahayana is, that doctrine, Buddhism? What's the most populous nation in the world? China, Japan, Vietnam, and Korea. Those are the big ones. But that's still a dominant religion in those places. Not to say that they can't have subsets there, but that's the big one. Okay, Tantrism. This one is a little bit, well, let's just talk about it. Blends Mahayana Buddhism with the ancient occult practices. So they're getting a little bit of occultism in here. Some of the stuff that go back to Nepal and Tibet have been blended into that Mahayana Buddhism. They use incantations and occult signs. Again, there's a lot of occult going on there, and a lot of those beliefs, casting out demons and things like that, putting demons on people. Has an element of animism, attaching your conscious mind to an inanimate object or objects of nature. So you're casting your mind off into what does a tree think. And when they say inanimate, I'm not talking about animals either, because they move. But things like, things you see in nature like trees, stones and those sort of things, that you're casting your mind into those positions. Don't ask me to explain that. But the biggest problem that they have with that religion is it leaves their followers open to demonic. And we see that too, as far as Satanism, people in our own country that worship Satan. That you're opening yourself up to allowing demons into you when you do that. So that's the same problem that they have by allowing that. Okay. And it is the official religion of Tibet and Nepal, which were some of those original ideas came from.
So each one of those three are a different form of Buddhism.
Yes.
They're all Buddhism.
And those break down into many sub-sects. SDCPS. Yeah.
Which religion is the Dalai Lama?
That's a good question. He's Buddhist.
He's Buddhist.
Yeah. One of the, and again, we're talking subsects that you see a lot, and a pretty common one is Zen Buddhism. Anybody ever hear that? And it falls under that Mahayana, the most common one, the Greater Way. It falls under that, and I'm not sure. But there's Taoism, Confucianism, a whole bunch of different sects. And we don't need to even go into them. Just to let you know that they're out there. These are the three main ones that we're looking at here. And one thing I wanted to, since I do have a little time here, Buddhist precepts, and these tie into the Eightfold Plan, things that they think about in their everyday life, and that's pretty much anybody that's a practicing Buddhist. There are 5 precepts taught by Buddhism that all Buddhists should follow. This is everybody. If you call yourself a Buddhist, kill no living thing, including insects. And that gets back again to that Eightfold Plan. Do not steal. Use the right speech. Do not commit adultery. Tell no lies. Do not drink intoxicants or take drugs. And that is mostly to the fact that they have to spend so much time thinking about, meditating on getting to that point of enlightenment that you don't want to take any kind of drugs or alcohol or anything that's going to mess with that ability for you to meditate. You're not thinking clearly. And there are other precepts that apply only to monks and nuns, and they do have nuns too.
Would you repeat those 5?
Yes, I will.
Kill no living thing,
Kill no
no
living
drugs and
thing.
alcohol.
Do not steal. Do not commit adultery. Tell no lies. And do not drink intoxicants or take drugs. And all of those have a place in this, on your sheet. The viewpoints, aspirations, speech, behavior, occupation, effort, mindful. All of those things fit into that eightfold plan somewhere. And the ones for the nuns and the monks, eat moderately, you can't overindulge, and only at the appropriate time. There's a time of day when you can do that. And avoid things that excite the senses. We'll let that be self-explanatory. Do not wear adornments, including perfume. Do not sleep in luxurious beds. You don't want to get too comfortable. Accept no silver or gold. There again, back to that adornment business.
So they can't kill any living thing, would that make them then vegetarians?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But
Well-
you think about plants
Vegetarians
too.
or vegan, like, I don't know what they would eat.
Yeah, where do you draw the line? You know, plants are a living thing too, so.
Yeah.
They will eat meat so long as it died naturally. So
So
the meat that they have is very rare, and it's also obviously old and tough. If they do have meat.
Roadkill you're talking about, right?
As
Yes,
long as you eat roadkill.
but fresh.
Yes.
My son bought a dog, and evidently they also feed, it's new, he's in Myanmar, and it's new, pets are new concept there, and so I said, does he have any interaction with any other dogs? And he said, there's dogs all over, but I don't let him interact with them because they're more, they must not be wild enough to hurt people, but they're certainly not trained, but he said they're all fed. Because, and that's how, you can't hurt a living thing, so obviously it's someone's job to feed every stray animal.
Yeah, animals are venerated over in that culture. Has anybody ever, I don't know what city it is, but there's tons of monkeys that just run around there. I think it's someplace in Japan. I mean, they're clever, they know that they can get away with stealing stuff just because they can, you know. It's all right for monkeys to steal, but people can't do it. But they don't know any better, I guess, but they do regard animals very highly. Mary Ann.
This is really making me feel bad because I was speeding on the way out here and I hit a bird. At least I think I hit the bird, you know.
Good thing you're not a Buddhist, you don't excuse.
That's what I get for speeding, right?
Well, I wasn't speeding and I hit one too this morning, so
Well,
it wasn't my fault, he flew in front of me, so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they believe in karma, so, you know, that actually has had consequences on how you come back in your next rebirth. I tend to stay away from that coming back in your next life, you're reborn again. One thing about monks, anybody can become a monk or a nun today, but you have to accept that there's a long list of. Anybody familiar with what nuns have to go through to be, to be a nun? It's something similar to that. There's
like vows.
vows and a certain way. One thing too is with a monk that you can't work. So before you decide that you're going to be a monk, that you have to arrange somebody to support you. Because for the rest of your life, you're not going to be able to work. You're going to be meditating and doing good works and things like that. So they have to think about.
They can go on welfare, right?
But it's gated, so harm anybody and love everybody and all that kind of stuff, why on earth would the monastery be gated and locked? Because he told me that it was.
Well, because people would want to hurt them. They may not necessarily wanna hurt other people, the monks, but other people might wanna hurt the monks.
So I would
instead.
assume everybody, I guess
Just like
that's
any
what
other-
assuming gets you, you would I thought the majority of people there would be of that same religion.
That's just like in any nation, you got the gang or
They
terrorists,
have to
people,
protect
whatever
themselves
nation,
too,
and
just because there are people that, you know,
don't like it.
look at in this country what's happening for people of certain beliefs, you know.
Yes.
And, I know that's happened to the monks, they've been murdered too because of their beliefs, so. How that lines up with, you know, loving everybody, it's not to say that they can't love everybody and still protect themselves at the same time. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to steal here. But anyhow, something to think about, there is a Buddhism presence in this country. Anybody know of any personal connections with, you've met with, and this, the purpose of these classes is for examples like that, people that you come into contact with a certain faith. First, that you can befriend them, you know, with a loving heart, and then you can have a discussion a true discussion about knowing what you believe as compared to what they believe. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, the people who work in my nail salon at JJ's in Mansfield, they're all from Vietnam, and they have a little Buddha that sits like right in front of the counter, and it's on the ledge, and me and two other ladies, we were discussing nail colors, and she was sitting on that ledge in front of it. They don't really always have like a plate of fruit in front of it, is what they put in front of theirs. And this lady sat down on the ledge, and we were all looking at these, and one of the nail techs, her name's Christina, she said, I can get you another chair. And she's like, no, I'm fine. And then she said, ended up saying, no, here, and sat and pulled over an office chair or whatever, and had her sit there, and then she realized the lady got up, and she was like, oh, I sat in front of it. Like, that probably did something to make her mad or offend her or something.
I wish I could remember all this.
So I don't know why.
They do have superstitions too, but they're not supposed to. It's because they don't need to have superstitions,
They always
but
put a plate of fruit in front of this one.
the guy, the missionary that we talked to, the one that I can remember is, he encountered a pregnant woman over there with a safety pin on her belly, on her shirt. Remember that, Renita? I wrote a few of them down, I couldn't remember where I wrote them down at, but anyhow, I remember that is a superstitious way of protecting the baby, her unborn baby. Was a safety pin on her shirt. And there were others, but getting back to the fact that because the religion says that you don't need any superstitions, and yet they still do it, so they it's kind of like folklore in our own country that they do look at Appalachia and places like that have certain superstitions and beliefs too. So as that says up there, 350 million people around the world are Buddhists, and in this country, after World War II, Zen Buddhism kind of took a leap in our own country after World War II. And just to name a few, anybody remember Joan Baez, folk singer? She's a Zen Buddhist. Tina Turner.
Really?
Yeah. This one I think I heard, but it kind of surprises me anyhow.
Did you say, how do they think about women? I mean, what's their,
Oh, yeah.
Buddhism?
How do they think? How do
Yeah,
they
what about women in Buddhism?
Women
Like,
are
you know,
equal. I mean, anybody, as I mentioned earlier, anybody, including women, have equal opportunities in this faith, including reaching nirvana. And even women can become what they call nuns
Yeah.
into that society. So anyhow, the one that surprised me, I guess, the most is Harrison Ford. He's a Zen Buddhist. Okay, some of the parallels, we gotta compare here. There is no Buddhist Bible, but rather books that contain teaching of Buddha and some of the other Buddhas along the way. Those right there are the Book of the Dead. That is kind of bizarre. I don't understand what that is. It's talk about hungry ghosts, which aren't what you think they are, so I'm not even gonna, but that are some of their venerated, teachings there. And we have the Old and the New Testament, it's our supreme authority over the church, and it doesn't change it, we can't add to it. These other scriptures from other faiths can be added to it. And it is our sole guide for our faith and our practice. Buddhists deny a personal God. There is gods. Buddhists become basically deity. But there's no personal, you can have no personal, they don't believe God created the universe. It's just a natural force. And you have no personal relationship with any of those gods that they believe in. God is personal, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent too. Buddhists believe that sin is a lust that arises in one's life. That you can make yourself better by thinking good thoughts, putting all of that, first being not ignorant, and then just trying to meditate to a point to where you reach nirvana and you have been enlightened. Everyone is born in sin and falls short of God's standards. They can rid themselves of blessedness and salvation. And from anything that I've read, they don't know. They don't know that they're saved. And in fact, I don't even think they really have a concept of salvation. Salvation is gained only through believing in the sacrificial death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay, that's all I have for this week. Those are just some meditation, some points to think about in relationship to our studies here. Anybody got any questions or comments? Well, Rich will be back next week, and we're going to change things up a little bit. I won't tell you what that is, just so you come back. This is like a serial TV show. When you watch the episode, we'll leave it hanging so you come back next week. All right, thanks for everybody for being here today. And Albert, would you close us in prayer, please?
Father, thank you for our time together. Our time together, Father, I pray for maybe some things we've learned, that we've run into people that we might know that practice this, we might be able to witness to them.